Evening, everyone. That I would jump online quickly and just check in with everyone, really, as we all prepare to hunker down for a few weeks. Now, many of you, of course, will have got the message from Civil Defence Systems this evening. The blast of the horn on your phone, and then some messages that we're really keen for everyone to stick to as we go through the next several weeks at home, as we all join together in the fight against COVID-19. Now, there's no way to send out those civil defence emergency alerts on your phone with anything other than the loud honk that you heard. This was actually something we all discussed. Is there a way that we could send that message in a way that wasn't quite so alarming? It's usually the kind of thing that we use for alerts when we need people to react pretty quickly. But we thought it was a really useful way to get out some really key messages to everyone across the country. So some of those key messages were obviously about how important it is to stay home. That if you're not working in essential services, then you shouldn't be going out to work. And those essential services are really just based around some pretty simple principles. We're keeping going the people that we need to look after your health and your safety. So, of course, things like our medical professionals and the people who are still policing New Zealand. We need to keep going our efforts against COVID-19. So that means, we're still making face masks and protective equipment and things like that. And thirdly, we need to keep going the services that are going to help you and all of your family be well while you're at home. So medical supplies, pharmacies, access to money via the banks, and supermarkets and GPs, of course. So those are some of the principles around essential services and the things that you'll still be able to access. But by and large, we're very keen that you stay home, that you stay within what we call your bubble, the bubble of people that you'll be with for the next 4 weeks. So I'm going to try and skim your messages as I talk to you for a little bit longer, just to see some of the things that you're asking about. But some of the key things that I've been asked about are things like, can we go for a walk? Penny, you've asked, you've got 4 children, can you walk with all of them, or should you just take 2 at a time? You can walk with the people that you will be with for the next month, for the people that you're living with. You can walk with them. They're the people that will be in your life consistently over this period of time, and you can walk with them. But if when you're walking you pass by someone, keep your distance, keep 2 meters between everyone. I imagine New Zealanders are going to be doing a lot of long distance waving while we're out and about. And we're really encouraging people to stay local as well. That just makes it a lot easier. It means that people won't be taking trips and risking things like car breakdowns and all of the risk that comes with if you move too far away from where you're usually based. I'll keep multitasking and reading your messages as they come up. Excuse the casual attire. Can be a messy business putting toddlers to bed, so I'm not in my work clothes, so forgive me for that. Someone's asking me here about what about sports and things like that. Ultimately, doing things that are, again, just with people that are in your bubble and keeping it within that. And remembering a general really good important principle is to make sure that when you're out in public spaces that you're really aware of surfaces and things like that. You will have heard us say don't use playground equipment. I know that is so hard for parents. I'm certainly a parent that has used a lot of playgrounds around the country. The reason we're saying that is although so contact ultimately it can also exist on surfaces, and it can exist there for up to 72 hours. That's what the research tells us. So that's why someone who's someone who's out and about, if you're touching those public surfaces, can increase that risk. So always making sure you're washing your hands after you're being out and about. I've just asked someone, we are only allowed to go to the supermarket or around our neighbourhoods to the supermarket and staying as local as you can. But when you are out, just those principles of keeping your distance from others. Give an update on what we're experiencing at the moment with our cases. So at the moment, confirmed cases, the latest numbers are 189. And we have a category called probable cases. Now that just means that it really, for the purposes of the World Health Organization, is going to count as our numbers, because it's more than likely it's deemed that person has had COVID-19, even if their test isn't positive, because there's a window really for testing that you're going to get a positive result for. So that counts towards our total, which is now at 205. I do want to give you a new number that we'll keep giving updates on. And that is that we have 22 who are recovered. So the vast majority of New Zealanders will recover, and that's really important. I'll sprinkle in a couple of answers here. Someone asked whether or not you can go for a walk on walking tracks. You can walk. Just stay solo. Bridget's asked, are we allowed to travel in a car with people you're self-isolating with? Yes, as long as it's the people that you are self-isolating with, the people who are in your bubble. Someone has asked, can we drive to a walking track or drive to a dog park? Look, people will take trips in their car, supermarket, doctors, and so on. We just always, Sydney, ask you to remember, reduce down the risk as much as possible. If people are all driving around the place, there's risk of car breakdowns. It increases your having to go to the petrol station. If you act as though you already have COVID-19, think about it that way, then you'll work as hard as you can to limit your contact with others as much as possible. So that's a really good way, I think, to start thinking about these things as well. One of the things, as I'm giving you that rundown on our dashboard, what's happening with our cases at the moment, and as I just said, 22 recovered, which is great. 205 cases in total now. I do just want to prepare everyone that because of the lag with COVID-19, the time from someone having contact with someone who has it, catching it themselves, them being symptomatic and being tested and positive, there's a number of days before all of that happens. So we won't see the positive benefits of all of the effort you're about to put in for self-isolation for a few days yet, quite a number of days. I'd say at least 10 days. So don't be disheartened. Our numbers are going to go up. And the modelling I've seen suggests that they will go up quite considerably. We'll see quite a steep rise. In fact, I'm expecting we may see several thousand cases over a period of time, until we then will start to, we hope, see the effects of what we're doing with self-isolation having a positive impact. So don't be disheartened when you see that. Don't be disheartened when you see that ongoing increase because of that lag. All of the efforts that we're putting in should eventually show if we all follow the rules. I've just had a couple of questions I can see about visas. One of the really important things that happened when we put in place the epidemic notice today was that that will extend people's visas who are due to expire during this period, because of course they can't leave the country, and so we need to make sure that we don't leave people in a position where they're illegal through no fault of their own. So check online all of the details around what that means for your visa type and what you need to do next. Pop online to covid19.govt.nz. You'll see all of the details there. But if you're one of those people whose visas, whether it was a work visa, a student visa, or a temporary visa, was due to expire in that period, I can assure you those will roll over. But do get more information just by jumping online, and you can find that. I've had a few questions I can see here from people about the border. Things are continuing to increase our border measures. As you'll know, obviously now border is only open for New Zealanders to come home. And as we've seen rates of infection across the world increase, we are expecting more New Zealanders to potentially be carrying COVID as they come back into the country. The first thing I think it's important to say is that we cannot deny New Zealanders the chance to come home. That wouldn't be right, and that wouldn't be meeting our obligations. This is their home. And of course, through no fault of their own, some of them will have been exposed to COVID-19. So we need to look after them, and they will want to look after all of you by steering clear while we check that they're okay. So when people come in at the border, they'll be asked a number of questions. If they're symptomatic and we believe need to be tested, then all of those individuals will go into essentially what is quarantine. We're calling it an approved facility. It's a place where we've designated people in that situation can go. If someone isn't symptomatic but doesn't have a place they can self-isolate or has to travel too far to get to that place, they'll also go into a facility. That will be those requirements. We've already got testing at the border and so on, but those extra requirements will come in from 2 a.m. And so that's what people who are coming through now will be experiencing. We have several thousand we're expecting will be coming home over a period of time. Rebecca, when will the lockdown call be made about whether or not this lockdown cases? As I said, number of days we'll continue to see those cases keep going up. We should start to see them stable and how long it will need to stay in place for. So we'll keep sharing with you the intelligence we're getting from our cases every day, and you'll get a good guide then about what we'll need to do as we get closer to the 4-week mark. I had someone ask a question about rents. That's something we've been really concerned about. We know a lot of people's incomes will have been affected by COVID-19, and of course the fact that people have been unable to work. So we've done a couple of things. First, we created the wage subsidy, and there's no cap on that anymore. So no matter how large your employer is, they can get a payment of over $580 per week per employee, and we're expecting that to be passed on. And in many cases, of course, the expectation is that be topped up to your wages. That, however, will not necessarily, for some cases, be enough. Some people may have lost their jobs, and we are very concerned about what that means for rent and things like that. Today we passed a piece of legislation that means rents can't go up in this period, and also we don't want to see people evicted. So if people move into arrears, there's space for that to happen for some time before that's something that can be challenged by landlords. But essentially what we want is everyone to work together. We want people, to be really compassionate during this time and really understanding. There's also now banks having said that they'll give mortgage reprieve, mortgage holidays to people. So I hope that will make a difference equally for those who are landlords who still may have mortgages over their homes. Sorry if I'm missing some of your questions coming through quite quickly. Some is asking about people in Australia and the help over there. At the moment, if you are a New Zealander employed in an Australian business who's eligible for support, then you're not excluded from that support being passed on to you. However, if you're in need of social services, that's or direct government support, that's an area where we've had concern that isn't being made available to New Zealanders. It's a point I've raised with Prime Minister Scott Morrison, and so did the Deputy Prime Minister. So we will keep raising that issue. Thanks for the messages of support, everyone, as well. That's really kind of you. I can see those scattered around here as well. I see a question there from Holly, who's worried that people are being told that they have to work or they won't get paid. I just really want to give that message again. Our only expectation here is essential services remaining open. All other businesses and employees outside of essential workers should not be working, and the wage subsidy is in place to ensure that people can continue to be supported, but ultimately workers continue to be paid through that period as well. Look, hopefully I've covered off a number of the questions that you have. Someone's just asked about price increases. It is not acceptable to do what they call price gouge. That is not allowed. And so we will be keeping a very clear eye on where we might see those issues. Do let us know if you're seeing that. And there are things that we can do about that. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Finally, Nina, I can't walk very far to walk my dog. So can I take my car just down the road? Will the police tell me to stop using my car? You can walk your car. You can use your car, forgive me. You can use your car. Of course, people will need that for supermarkets, GP visits, and so on. And if you're taking it to go somewhere a little further for a walk, just keep in mind, keeping as local as you can is really helpful. Look, the police may from time to time ask people where they're going. So just be ready to give them an explanation, and that might just check in that you're doing what you need to be doing. I have been asked about dairies. We put a lot of thought into dairies. One of the issues is some areas won't have a supermarket. They may only have a dairy. Some places it's very far for people to walk to get to their supermarket. A requirement we're putting on dairies is they can only have one customer in the shop at a time. The key thing is keeping people away from one another, and so that's one way we can limit that risk, whilst also making sure people have access to food. Particularly, we're keeping in mind the most vulnerable there, and not everyone having transport. Well, everyone, I hope I've tried to answer some of your questions. You're going to be seeing a lot of me over the next 4 weeks. I probably will drive you a bit mad by being so present. But till then, and Karina, I hope this answers your question. Till then, do check in on your neighbours. Do especially check on those who may be elderly. Give them a call, see what their needs are. And if you can help them, go out and grab their essentials and pop them on the front door for them. Just remembering the way we can keep them safe is by keeping our distance. Remember, stay at home, break the chain, and you'll save lives. And it's as simple as that. That's everyone's job for the next 4 months. Okay, I'll be staying in touch, so you'll be seeing me lots and lots. I'll try and answer as many of your questions as I can. If you see I have any others, pop them here, and I'll try and pick them up in the next time that I jump online for a Facebook Live.